Hello, everyone. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, along with Richard Fowler, Jesse Waters, Dana Perino, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 9 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. Thank you for joining us. We hope you all enjoyed your holiday weekend. On this Memorial Day, we honor our fallen heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice to protect our freedom. You and your families are in our thoughts and in our prayers. We also want to thank the men and women currently serving in our armed forces. We pray for your safety and for your families. We are living in very dangerous and uncertain times with waves of terror gripping the globe. But President Trump vows America will aggressively confront the threat and warned the Muslim world recently it must as well.
There can be no coexistence with this violence. There can be no tolerating it, no accepting it, no excusing it, and no ignoring it. This is a battle between barbaric criminals who seek to obliterate human life and decent people. Drive them out of your communities. Drive them out of your holy land. And drive them out of this earth.
We cannot tolerate terror. We must confront it. A BBC commentator has a surprisingly different perspective. She offered it on air following the devastating new attack in the UK last week. She thinks we must learn to accept the barbarity.
Europe is getting used to attacks like this, Mika. We have to, because we are never going to be able to totally wipe this out. As ISIS gets squeezed in Syria and Iraq, we're going to see more of these kinds of attacks taking place in Europe, and Europe is starting to get used to that.
Okay, Greg, people should reject this idea that we should just accept terror and learn to coexist.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting contrast because there's nothing more refreshing than blunt language at times, and that's what, whether you like him or not, that's what you get for Trump. That is the most blunt, I guess, explanation of what one must do to fight terror. Catty K, not okay. Imagine saying, get used to it, to certain other injustices, like to a bullied child. Just gonna have to get used to it, or a victim of racism or domestic abuse, spousal abuse. So
sexual assault.
Yeah, so there's separate levels of judgments for injustice. Acts that are perpetuated in society, you are not okay. But if it's from an outsider, or if it's from somebody that has a grievance, real or manufactured, in this case manufactured, radical Islam, but they're adopting the grievance kind of culture, we have to get used to it.
Dana, do you think this kind of attitude that people have, that just coexist, to accept it, sort of become one with the idea that we live in a world of terror, is dangerous?
Not exactly sure that's what she means. I think she was also trying to be very practical. And the truth is that Europe does have a severe problem. They are infested with terrorists all the way across the continent. And that's been because of several decades of allowing basically unfettered immigration. And now they can't track them down. And the thing is that it's not just refugees who just arrived last month that are causing the problems. It's the children of refugees, so it's the next generation that have some sort of vengeance that they want to exact. So I don't agree, though, with the defeatist attitude.
Sure.
Like, never accept it, and I think there's got to be a whole different way of fighting it. And when President Trump met with NATO members, I think the other thing that he was doing is not just making sure that they knew that they had to pay up so that we could all work together on this, but also he's preparing for a very big decision on Afghanistan and a new approach to that. And there's a debate within the White House as to what that should be. And I think that this foreign trip that he just took will actually lead him to wanting to do more, because I feel like he had this transformation over the past 6 months. And in particular, when he's there in Europe, there's this massive terrorist attack. And then everyone looks to him like, you're the leader of the free world. What are we going to do? And he says with very strong language, like, we're not going to put up with it. So that's, I think, on the table for him in the next couple of weeks. I think you'll see a stronger position put forward on at least the Afghanistan
policy.
That's
so interesting, because I was listening to an interview and read a piece from Daniel Henninger in the Wall Street Journal, and talking about how there was an impact on President Bush as well, after 9/11, and these things that are transformative experiences. You were there.
Right. Well, because, for example, nobody campaigns because they want to go to war. They campaign to be president because they want to make schools better, or reduce taxes. President Trump's was, let's make America great again. Obama's, hope and change. And then when stuff happens on your watch and you become the responsible party, you do have a different attitude towards it, and then you become the decider, and you have to move forward.
All right, Jesse, so the president having a very consistent message, during the campaign, but America first, make America safe again, and then now telling the world we must drive them out for terrorists and people who practice jihad.
I thought it was a terrific rhetorical flourish. Drive them out, drive them out, drive them out. He had a great overseas trip. He went there with still an America First attitude. The Saudi arms deal, $110 billion. We're getting jobs. We're getting cash for that deal. And then we're letting the Saudis take the lead in confronting the Iranians and other bad actors in the region. That's one thing. Number two, he put the onus on the Muslim world. America is not going to be able to defeat these Islamic fascists by ourselves. We've recognized the limitations of doing that during the Bush administration and then also in the Obama administration. They're going to have to be the tip of the spear unless we're going to drive these people out. He put some pressure on the clerics that this is not a war on Christianity versus Israelis versus Islam. This is a war of savages versus civilized people. And he kind of was uplifting, and he said, the Middle East used to be this amazing trade route where there are these shipping lanes and this is, the access from Asia into Europe and, this bedrock of civilization. Let's get back to that. Let's return to that prosperity because the prosperity is there. But until you guys drive out these awful people, you're never going to have any success. You're not going to have families. You're not going to have money. You're not going to have safety. So I think the president was very effective in doing that. And then he came back to Israel, put the bar a little high, I think, by saying I could possibly solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and then called these people losers. And I think calling them losers sets them up because he's very effective at branding, and it just shows that we will win when we defeat them because that's going to stop recruitment.
Right.
If no one wants to join a team that's losing. So I think he's really set that up effectively.
And he doubled down on it and called them losers again. People criticize him for saying it. No, in fact, I'm sticking with it. Right. All right, welcome to the show. Great to see you again.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
Good to be here. Well, I think they are losers. I'll give you that one.
Way to go out on a limb, Fowler.
But here's the thing. I think there's a couple, and I do agree. I think we do have to drive them out. But I think you have to parse this, right? Because you have the ISIS fighters in Syria, in Iraq, and then you also have those folks who are self-radicalizing here in the United States and here in Europe. And solving those problems are two different things. And I think the third problem that we have here is the Syrian civil war. And you have to parse the Syrian civil war different from ISIS expansion. You can't deal with one. You have to see them as three different isolated things. And I think what I would hope to see from this administration is, one, how do we solve self-radicalizing here in the United States? Two, how do we defeat ISIS in the Middle East? And three, how do we come to some sort of resolution in the Syrian civil war and take Assad out? And if those two things aren't there, then I'm against it.
I don't know if I heard from President Trump that he wants to necessarily take Assad out in that speech in Saudi Arabia. I got the sense that he said, you know what, we're not going to try to impose our values. We're not going to initiate regime change. That has not necessarily been effective. I think he says, let's just kill ISIS and squeeze those people, and then we could maybe come to a political solution.
Well, I don't think you can, because the reason why the reason why ISIS is growing is because of Assad, primarily, right? Because he is saying, I'm going to gas people, I'm going to blow people up, and the Muslim community is saying, well, if you're going to blow us up, hell, we're going to join these people who are going to blow you up. So we've got to deal with Assad, and Assad has always been a problem. Don't deal with him. ISIS will forever continue to expand.
Can I point out that this is a first for me on a show, that I've actually changed my mind based on what somebody else said?
Was it me or Fowler?
No, it's Dana. I've been sitting here for 5 minutes thinking that I was probably wrong about Katty Kay.
Oh.
I think that what she was saying was more like a depressed resignation over the events rather than saying,
just get used to it.
Get used to it. She wasn't saying get used to it. She says, sadly, this has become a regular thing. So I'm going to retract everything I just said in the beginning of the show.
Wow. You know what? Let me see if I can change your mind again.
A big win for Katty Kay.
Exactly.
I think Europeans have a different mindset towards terrorism because Europe went World War I, World War II. There's just been so much blood and tragedy at that continent. America's not used to that. And
let's not get used to it.
And we don't want to get used to that. We don't want to accept that. We don't want to normalize
Stiff upper lip
that.
is what always talk like during the IRA experience. It was like the whole thing was carry on.
Right.
Just get on with it. Stiff upper lip. The upside of that is that you don't let them get the best of you. The downside is, does it stop it? That's the.
And I don't think it does stop it. And I would say to the people that say Republican rhetoric is increasing recruitment for ISIS, which we've heard for the last 8 years, I would say what KDK said about we have to get used to it. If ISIS plays that on a loop on YouTube, I think that's a very effective recruitment strategy because ISIS is thinking, you know what?
Defeated.
The British have accepted business as usual. They've accepted the fact that we're going to be successful on the European continent.
Here's my pushback on that, and I rarely ever quote George Bush, but I will here. He was the one who said that we should never
Roll the tape.
He's the one we should never cower to terror, and in never cowering to terror, you have to continue to live your lives. I think one speech that him or Dick Cheney gave, he talked about go to Disney World, take your family on vacation, keep living. That's how you beat terrorism. The moment you increase security, you make people take their shoes off at the airport, you make them have three ounce bottles and not one 9-ounce bottle, which is pretty much the same thing.
It's got to be measures, though, Richard, that make sense, that aren't arbitrary, right? That there's something that actually makes sense. I mean, I think you have to do a lot. It has to be a multifaceted approach. You have to be able to have the rhetoric that's there. You have to have the action and the military strength and might to back it up. You have to have a plan. You have to have real-time intelligence being developed and not just drone everybody to death, which is also kind of nice to do. But you don't get the information back on this Memorial Day. Just let us know.
Well, also because we know that these people that have committed the self-radicalization, every single one of them has been on the radar screen of law enforcement at some point. And then with this in particular, you have travel to Libya and a return, the connections. And it's, I don't fault law enforcement. I know that they're doing all that they can to share information, but at some point, can there be preemptive measures?
Yeah.
I agree.
To take them, to basically,
all the signs
I don't know how you put somebody into custody before they've committed an act, but if you know that they're on the radar for a possible self-radicalization, I think that's a conversation that the world needs to have. Like, are we willing to do that?
When they come back from Libya.
The one thing I will say here before we go to break is that we can no longer afford to spill our blood and treasure on the Middle East. That has to be that's it. We cannot afford to spend any more blood and treasure in the Middle East, period.
No one wants to do that.
Well, what if you took the evil, if you removed it from the Middle East and you said, okay, there was this bloodthirsty horde coming from another planet. We wouldn't think about it like in a political way. We would think about it in a unifying way, as like we are fighting this group, a roving band of creatures that destroy and butcher young girls. And it's from it. We could actually we stop thinking about the Middle East. We're thinking about the actual faction.
Right.
We have to start thinking like that. But I guarantee you, there will be a group of people that say, those people from Planet X, you know, that's their culture. We should lay off.
That's what Trump is saying. He says they're barbarians and we're civilized people and we need to fight them no matter where we come from.
Absolutely. You can't take anything off the table, can you, folks?
Not even the table.
Especially not the chairs. Ahead, Democrats are more determined than ever to win back the White House in 2020, and there's a lot of talk already about who may throw their hat in the ring. We've got a list of some of the possible top contenders, and our thoughts next.
Early field guide to 2020. Bernie Sanders on there, and so is Joe Biden. I had a prediction at the beginning of the year that Al Franken would definitely be on that list. He has a book that's coming out tomorrow, and he says he's not going to do that. Do you believe him, Jesse?
I do. I don't think Franken's going to run. I think he's going to stay in Minnesota and make jokes that no one laughs at. But I don't think these celebrities are going to work, because I think what they're trying to do is do Trump light. And, you know, you have a celebrity, a businessman, Trump left, Trump light. I don't think kind of imitating that works. I think you need a total contrast to President Trump. I think that could be more effective. I remember when Bush ran for re-election, they wanted John Kerry because he had experience in the military, and it was during the Iraq War. It doesn't really work. You need someone, and I hate to say it, you need someone the opposite of Trump, if you're a Democrat, to fire up the base and run a contrast
So who
campaign.
would that be, Richard?
Elizabeth Warren, someone like that.
No.
And you know what? She doesn't pull punches.
No.
She would mock him.
All right, Richard.
It would be a tremendous.
We're glad you're here. Who do you think on
I
this
have
list?
one contender.
Oh,
I thought
only
he should have
one?
been a contender
Okay.
in November.
All right.
Vice President Joe Biden.
Oh, well, he's going to be quite old.
Just as old
Well,
as
he'll only
Donald
be
Trump.
4 years older than President Trump if he were to.
And here's why. Here's the thing. So Democrats. I mean, there's a lot of arguments about why we lost this election. We can rehash it if we'd like. I won't. But part of it is that we lost working class Americans. And there's one guy. I would argue, in the country that really gets working class folk. And that's Joe Biden, because he was one. His father was one. His father was an automobile salesman, I want to say. And we're talking about electrifying a crowd, right? You put Joe Biden in a room, and I mean, when I was with,
People are touched, literally.
A rubber room?
Gentle massage.
But in Philly, for example, during his speech, we were all there. We saw it. I mean, that arena, I think there were more applause during his speech than during Hillary Clinton's speech. So
Well,
my money's on Joe Biden.
That could be possible. There's other
I
people
love
on
Biden.
here.
Would you vote for him?
There's some Californians on here, Governor Jerry Brown, and also someone you might have, California Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom.
Then why the rumor that I was married to him at one point in my life?
You win some, you knew some.
Oh, and I knew some.
Don't write a tell-all book.
Oh, no. Yeah, you know, I think he would make a great governor. I think he's going to win. And I think he's always wanted to run for president is what I mean, you know.
Did he tell you that?
Secret's out. But he's actually, you know, he's very hardworking, super passionate about what he does. I mean, I think his party is very lucky to have him. I disagree with many of his policies, as he knows, but I appreciate his authenticity and definitely his passion about it.
But Greg, do you think a celebrity could run
No.
after 2016?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Dana?
Could you explain?
No. And yes. Okay, here's the thing. This is going to blow your minds. And everybody at home is going to go, he's absolutely right. The Gutfeld rule of 100. What happened 100 years before 2020? The right to vote for women. If you don't run on that, I mean, how can you lose?
Elizabeth Warren.
A woman, well, I would go with Gabbard. I think she's a possible. Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard. Even the woman whose name I keep forgetting in California that we talked.
Kamala Harris.
Yes. Okay.
she'd be
strong, but the fact is,
She's on the list.
100 years. Okay, so this you already have it built in. You have the slogan. It's like, you know, Tulsi, it's about damn time. It's 100 years. How can you go wrong with that? 100 years.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
All right, I'm done. I'll see you guys later.
You can't get better than that. Please leave.
Another person that's on here that I wonder what you think, Jesse, is Governor Andrew Cuomo. What do you think? Think you have two New Yorkers battle it out again?
You know, I don't know about Cuomo. A couple of years ago, he was really in a great trajectory, and I think he went really far left, unfortunately. He banned fracking.
He's not left enough.
I disagree.
You think Cuomo isn't left enough?
He has major problems with labor unions. He has, I mean, there was a $1 million fight in New York between
And
him
he hates de
teachers unions.
Blasio.
I don't
That's
think
a
he
plus.
won.
I just don't know if he translates to the rest of the country.
Well, but I think he has the New York state of mind, and I think we're living the New York state of mind now in the White House. I'm not sure if we want to redo that.
Jesse's loving it. The New York state of mind is Jesse's.
I think he's going to run.
That's right.
But the breaking news here is that Kimberly said she would vote for Joe Biden. They missed that.
Well,
Oh, no, this
I'm
is a
big into
common
his
theme.
platform, right? Remember
Yeah,
the
she loves
midnight...
What if Gavin
Boom.
did?
We got one more
Skinny dip.
vote.
And what if Gavin run and got the nomination? Would you? What would you do?
If he was running against President Trump.
Yeah. Who would you? What
Like,
would
hey, you want to
happen?
get back together?
Trump card.
First lady, maybe.
What do you have to offer?
I'm going to let you off the hook, Kimberly. Because directly ahead, we've got some advice for the class of 2017. We're back in a moment.
Live from America's News headquarters, I'm Kelly Wright in Washington. Here's what's happening. President Trump condemning the killings of two men who tried to stop a racist rant on a Portland, Oregon light rail train. The president saying, quote, the violent attacks in Portland are unacceptable. He also tweeted the victims were standing up to hate and intolerance. Our prayers are with them. The 23-year-old and 53-year-old men were killed Friday as they tried to stop the suspect from harassing two women, one of whom was wearing a hijab. Another man was seriously injured. Elsewhere in the news, golfing great Tiger Woods arrested in Florida on suspicion of DUI. Woods released a statement tonight disputing that alcohol was involved. He instead blames an unexpected reaction to prescribed medications. Woods, a 14-time major champion, is out for the rest of the season while recovering from his fourth back surgery. I'm Kelly Wright. Back to the 5.
Congratulations to the class of 2017, but welcome to the real world. Some big names have been dishing out advice to grads around the country.
Never, ever give up. Carry yourself with dignity and pride. Demand the best from yourself and be totally unafraid to challenge entrenched interests and failed power structures.
Don't lose your sense of humor. Do confront bullies. Don't procrastinate.
Whether you're a conservative or a liberal or a Republican or a Democrat, it doesn't matter as long as you believe that our common humanity matters most.
There is no life without a spiritual life. Practice being grateful. And a lot of people say, oh, Oprah, that's easy for you because you got everything. I got everything because I practiced being grateful.
It's become an annual tradition on The Five for us to share our pearls of wisdom. So let's go around the table, starting with KG.
All right. So I like all the advice. Those are all great speeches. I think the one thing that I would say is no matter how much adversity you face in life, no matter how many times you come up against a roadblock, don't be afraid to be courageous and to try again and to never give up. I mean, you all ultimately are going to be your own best advocate to put forward your passions, your dreams, your desires, and represent yourself and be able to get people to believe in you and take a chance in you. And it's a powerful thing inside of that we all have, and that desire to want to have a good life, to have a grateful life, like Oprah said. You know, it's a great feeling when you wake up in the morning and you go to bed at night and you're doing something you're passionate about, so it's worth fighting for.
Absolutely. Richard, what about you?
Well, I have two things. One, believe in the power of your dreams, and I say that constantly to all the folks that I mentor. If you believe in the power of dreams, you can achieve them. And the second thing, you will likely fail, but fail quickly. And remember, when you are failing, if you can look down at your feet, right, and I do this all the time, and if you can put one foot in front of the other, that means you still got a chance.
Very good.
Didn't you go to Chicago recently
I did.
with Ebony and someone else?
Gianna Caldwell.
And so what was your message to them? Something
Same
similar?
thing.
Okay.
And great, and I mean, I love Lady O. And one of her quotes that literally sits on my office door is, "Gratefulness is the greatest prayer that anybody can ever have."
Lady O, wow, I didn't know you guys were so close. Dana.
My advice this year is just very practical, and that is get a job, take a job, any job. No, I'm serious. I love it. You know, there's so many parents now who, friends of a friend, you know, I'm sure this happens to everybody. Yeah. Can you help with the best internship ever? Can you help with this possible entry? And there's just not enough to go around at any one place. And so my recommendation is don't wait 6 or 7 months for that perfect offer. Yep. It might not come. So in the meantime, while you wait for that perfect offer, take any job and also go away. Move. Go do something different. Go work at a camp. Go do something fun and interesting. You're going to work the rest of your life. So take this time when you're young and excited. Go see something new, and it will definitely pay dividends later on.
Can't believe I'm saying this, but I agree with Dana.
Wow. Great advice, Journal.
I also took any job that would have me. I was a bellhop at a hotel for a few months after I graduated from college, and it was the best job I've ever had.
A lot of tips?
I made a lot of tips. Yeah. I learned how to hustle for money, and learned that I didn't want to be a bellhop for the rest of my life.
And I bet you're nice to all the bellhops now.
Oh, yeah, I tip them big.
Exactly.
You got to give them something they could rub together with their fingers.
Did you pop your collar?
No, I did not. A few times I would try to, I would go, there was an attractive girl that would pull up, and I'd have to check her in, and I'd bring the bags up, and I'd leave them at the door, and I'd say, "Is there anything else?" And then she'd say, no, and then I'd realize I was wearing a bellhop uniform. I said, "Oh, yeah, no kidding." Greg.
Wow, that was humiliating. Awkward.
My post-college advice, give up. Don't be courageous. Do as little as possible. Procrastinate. Don't challenge anyone. Don't be grateful. Don't dream. My point is, it's too late for you. Because I have advice for people who are in college. Okay. If you want to be successful after college, in college, you have to abandon identity politics, because what happens after college is it creates a visible chip on your shoulder that you can see from space, and no job recruiter is gonna want to hire somebody who sees and expresses themselves as a perpetual victim. Mm-hmm. When you give off the idea that you are a victim, nobody wants to be around you. I want to paraphrase Shelby Steele. He said when he deals with someone in the thrall of grievance culture, he always asks them, what would you say if you weren't a victim? What would you do if you didn't think as a victim. Embracing victimhood allows an off-ramp from testing your abilities and taking advantage of the opportunities in your world by constantly just saying, I'm a victim.
Yeah.
You have the world around you that offers so many things, but you're angry.
Yeah.
You got to let that go.
Turns into planned resentments.
That's
Because
right.
you're a victim, you operate from zero to be.
I would never hire that person.
The anger.
I wouldn't hire you.
go. Oh, really? Yeah, and just don't take Gutfeld's
I don't
job.
need you to hire me.
Summer is a season of
take
blockbuster
my own
movies.
job.
One of them is a big remake. Our thoughts on the new and improved Wonder Woman up next.
Memorial Day is the unofficial start of summer, and that means big budget blockbuster movies will be dominating theaters. One of the most anticipated films. So clearly, movie remakes are this new trend because theaters run out of new ideals. But with that being said, I think the ideal superheroes, they can be remade all the time. Case in point, I was an X-Men watcher as a kindergartener.
Oh
I
my
watched this
God. You're young. Older, man.
Oh, Lord. I actually, well,
Make me feel old.
I'm 30. I'm happily 30. And so I watch all of the now X-Men remakes because I was a big
You liked
X-Men fan to
X-Men.
begin with. But with that being said, there are other remakes coming out like Top Gun, which I don't plan on seeing.
Oh, really? Yeah, I
No
heard
Top
about
Gun?
that. Yeah, the cruise is going to do. Top Gun.
I'm kind of the same. I don't like the remake idea very much. Though The Great Gatsby, that was pretty good.
We have a
Leonardo
we have a
DiCaprio.
clip of this Top Gun sucker. Let's take a look.
Talk to me, Goose. Roger, I got him. Contact 20 left at 30 miles, 900 knots closure. I feel the need for speed.
That remake looked exactly like their
That is the old one.
It never ages.
They're currently
looks good.
producing the new one.
Say something. I think you actually, for real, might have problems. Before it was like a joke.
What about what is sequel to Deliverance? I want to know what happened to the family.
It's getting
So
worse
clearly,
by
what
the
happened to
minute.
the family?
Clearly,
What's
clearly.
next? Hannibal Lecter.
Hollywood
Freddy
knows to cater
Krueger,
how to cater to you.
Yes.
But Dana, how do you feel about remakes?
I'm not the biggest fan of them, though. I do know that because now that I am older and there are younger people, and if I make a reference to Pretty in Pink or Fast Times at Ridgemont High,
Yeah.
young people, you've never seen them?
Spicoli.
Hey,
You don't know Spicoli?
Dana, I got that in.
He's never seen Fast
Okay,
Times.
so your homework before you can never come on the 5 again is to watch those 2 movies.
We played this in charades at your house in
Which
Palmetto
one?
Bluff. Remember, and I guess Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
That's wrong.
Well, I guess the whole audience really needed that information,
You know, you're
Kimberly.
still jealous about that. I know it.
You're like the kid that got invited to the birthday party and has to tell everybody.
We didn't watch any movies.
And I slept in that awesome bed, you know, downstairs.
You don't want to know what's in that bed.
You there?
Oh, boy.
Talking about front beds, Dirty Dancing is also doing a remake by ABC, and I saw I took a look at the clip, and I got to tell you, that baby, you can put that baby back in the corner.
Oh my gosh, it's bad.
It is bad.
So this is the new one, or is this the original here? This is the original?
No, this is the preview for the new one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look that dirty to me.
No, this doesn't look good. I think
doesn't look good at all.
Wonder Woman to me looks exceptional. That looks outstanding. She looks like she could kill ISIS. I'm totally into it. Also, the Top Gun one, and I have both of those costumes.
They should do a
Maverick
sequel
and
to The
Wonder
Graduate. Like, what happened after? It's like they're going off. He ruins the wedding, right? And they're going to be married. You know, in 2 months you're going to be divorced. I want to see that movie.
You know
Well,
what movie they're actually
you mean
doing
you
a
want to
remake
be
of?
in it?
Al Gore is doing a remake of
Climate
Inconvenient
Change.
Truth.
Yeah, it's true.
That's actually happening.
I would like to see a prequel of Jaws. What was that shark doing before?
It was
Just
growing.
swimming around.
Just swimming
It
around.
was on National Geographic.
It
I
was
think you
eating
have-
people, getting bigger.
I think you do have a lot of sequels to Jaws because you have Sharknado, which
Yeah.
is
No,
Jaws
there's
5.0.
Jaws 2. There's
Oh,
Jaws
that's
3, which is
Bowling's favorite
3D,
is
which was
Sharknado.
great. But I want prequels. I want to know what happened before it happened. Like Die Hard. How did those terrorists, what were they planning beforehand? Like Gruber. Hans Gruber. I want to know more about Hans Gruber.
Wait, do you like prequels? Do you like sequels?
I like
You just
NyQuil.
don't like That's awesome.
Clearly.
NyQuil is when you watch a sequel at night while you're drunk.
You're not supposed to mix
Sipping on
that
some-
with
You're not
alcohol.
supposed to mix that with
You put it in pudding.
cough syrup.
No, you're
Right.
Are
supposed
you
to.
serious?
I don't know what I'm saying at this point. It's just the mouth moving. Unconnected to the brain.
Only
You
on
can get us
Memorial
out of
Day.
here, Richard.
Up next, We'll be talking about some of the things you don't do anymore because of technology. Are robots taking over?
Yes.
Stay tuned.
Technology is making a lot of things in life easier. If you're under 20 like me, you've probably never memorized the phone number, used a phone booth, had a CD or record collection, or used an actual dictionary. Dictionaries are for losers, right, Dana? We wanted to take a look back at those times when we had those things before all the robots now take over the world. Okay, Dana, what do you miss about this pre-technology?
Well, I read this list. I actually don't miss a lot. The handwritten letter I still do, and I still like to receive, although my handwriting has deteriorated. But things like memorizing phone numbers, I used to be able to keep a lot of phone numbers in my head, and I've given that up, and I think that has freed my mind to do other things that are really important.
But you will be helpless if you lose your phone and you need to call somebody.
That's right.
Can I borrow your phone? But you won't know the number.
No, I know. That's why it's really important. You should print out your contact list like every 6 months so that you can have those numbers just in case.
Oh, very good.
Little tip.
But who's going to add them back in?
I guess people don't use phone booths anymore unless you're a drug dealer. So there are some people still using phone booths.
Well, not just for drugs, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, why would else should you use a payphone?
Apparently you don't walk the streets of New York as much as I do.
Okay, I don't want to know.
Or use the phone booth.
So now, like, I use GPS when I drive in my own neighborhood. Like, I can't.
Even though you know where you're going.
Even I will take the GPS and it will tell me to go into the middle of the train tracks, and I'll just sit there in the train tracks and I'll trust it. Yeah. And even if I know where I'm going, I'll still follow the GPS like an idiot.
This doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't, because I'm so reliant on the GPS.
There are reports
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, there are reports of people who do drive into lakes and stuff because they refuse not, you know.
That's not technology. That's just stupidity.
Yeah, that's true. They go together sometimes. Richard, how about you? You're too young to offer anything.
Did they have the internet when you were growing up?
They did have the internet, but I actually miss buying CDs. And
why?
It was fun, right?
It was fun. My first.
What about albums? Did you ever go look for albums?
Yeah, my first CD was Destiny's Child. That tells you how young I am.
Shocking.
Hey, listen.
I knew you were going to say it.
But
yes, I broke the band
trying to open the CD and take the tape off, and now you just go on iTunes and you press 2 clicks, and it's just not the same. The nostalgia's gone.
No, you lose the joy. I picked my college because of the record stores. I went to Berkeley because of Rasputin and Tower Records, which are on Durant, and Durant and Channing. But anyway, that's not for me to talk about, Kimberly.
Okay, well, perfect. That was boring. Here's the thing that was fun. Remember we used to make photo albums?
Yes.
I'm behind.
Yeah.
I did them when I was little. I had nice little photo albums. Then I got married, and I never made that first one. And then I got married, and I still haven't gotten to that one. One of these days, I'm going to go back to those making a photo album.
I miss cutting things out of the newspaper.
Oh, you hostage notes?
No, not hostage.
Oh, never mind.
Like articles
anyway.
that you could give to people. Like, I thought of you today when I saw this article.
Don't you remember that in movies? In every movie, it was people, the bad guy was always cutting out stuff from a magazine. They don't do that anymore.
Do you?
They don't have to.
You do that.
No, but that gets to my point. Okay, so I have, 1970s was a really crappy decade for a lot of things. The rotary phone was always covered in food because if you had kids, your foods were always that stuff. But I had 3 older sisters, so I didn't understand the phone calls that would come in from mysterious men, i.e. obscene phone calls, which are no longer, you can no longer do an obscene phone call.
No more pranks.
No more prank phone calls. No more.
You use *67 before you call to block your number?
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, and so, but you know what else?
That still works.
You know what else is no longer from the 70s? There's no more, like, really bad TV dinners. There's no more litter. You don't see as much litter. You don't see stray dogs. I remember the 70s.
Yeah,
there were stray dogs all over the... No, that's what I'm saying. These are things of the 70s.
Where did you grow up?
The world has gotten so much better.
I know.
In Gutfield's, we used to want a lot of stray dogs and cats and litter everywhere.
The suburbs were a mess. I mean, you used to have to walk everywhere.
What was that shared line when you pick up the party line? Remember? You pick it up.
Every show had a laugh track.
Oh, that was a lot of fun. You know what I miss, though? I miss mixtapes. I used to get the nicest tapes.
Yeah, but now they'll do it for you.
Yeah, this.
All right.
Can you make me a mixtape? KJ?
Yes, I'll get to it in about the next 5 years.
Okay.
With the photo
Let's
album.
get rid of this segment right now. One More Thing is up next.
It's on now for One More Thing. Jesse.
Okay, well, in honor of Memorial Day, I wanted to give you guys a little throwback Water's World to a famous beach quiz. Roll the tape.
It doesn't get better than this.
Boost Simply Complete.
It's on now for One More Thing. Jesse.
Okay, well, in honor of Memorial Day, I wanted to give you guys a little throwback Water's World to a famous beach quiz. Roll the tape. World War II. Who'd we fight there?
Wow, just learned this.
It's not true. Doesn't pass the smell test. I find that offensive.
Why?
I don't know.
I felt that it was like faux outrage you had.
It
there.
is.
You
I
didn't
just
really
couldn't, I
sell
didn't
that.
really have
All
much
right.
passion for a One More Thing today.
I can tell you have low energy.
I've got a good one.
Go ahead.
Okay, so less than 8 months ago, there's a dog named K9 Dux, and he's from Spotsylvania in Virginia, and he was shot in the neck during the pursuit of a suspect. The 2-year-old German Shepherd acted when the suspect was shooting at officers in an attempt to save them from being harmed. So he was rushed to emergency surgery, hailed as a hero immediately after the accident. Well, guess what? He's made a total recovery. And it's hard to believe all the things he's able to do now. He's like right back where he was, and we just want to thank all those K9 officers.
You buried the lead.
Okay.
It's a dog from Spotsylvania.
You didn't get that, Dan?
Yes, that's why it was so funny.
That is amazing.
Well, that's actually a city.
I know, but it's
No,
great.
Because a
Wait,
dog
I mean, that's
has
great,
like
too.
spots, like a dogs are
No,
called
well,
spots.
remember dogs used to be called Spot back
Yeah,
in the
that too.
70s?
Back then, but that was
Back
a
in the
German
70s,
Shepherd.
they were called Spot.
Back when Richard was in kindergarten
When I
or
was in
whatever. Yeah,
kindergarten.
go ahead. Richard,
This
yeah.
one is for you.
Oh, thanks.
From street gang to fashion empire, this DC LGBTQ group, it used to be a street gang to protect themselves from bullies.
Okay.
They were once called the Check It Gang, and now they're called Check It Enterprises, opening up their first store in Washington, D.C. I bought a T-shirt. And they believe, there's a T-shirt up there, that if
Love
you, with mentor, they want to mentor others and help them escape bullying by embracing entrepreneurship.
I love that.
Pretty cool.
Oh, fantastic.
Check it.
Yep.
Check it out.